Have you ever held a book in your hands and felt that it wasn't just a story, it was an experience waiting to unfold? That's exactly what this month's book club pick promises. All the Way to the River is not just another novel on the shelf. It's a journey into choices, consequences, and the silent forces that shape who we are. From the very first page, you're pulled into a world where every decision carries weight, where every action has ripples that flow far beyond what the eye can see. In the river is more than a setting, it's a living symbol of transformation, quiet on the surface, powerful underneath. In this video, we'll go deeper than a simple summary. We'll uncover the themes that make this book unforgettable. We'll explore the hidden meanings behind the characters' struggles. And we'll reveal why this story feels so relevant right now, in a world where choices define us more than ever. But here's the real secret. This isn't just about reading a book. It's about looking at our own lives through the lens of a powerful story. Because what happens in the pages is also a mirror of what happens in us. Stay with me until the end. By the time we reach the river together, you'll see why this pick isn't just literature. It's a lesson in life itself. The author behind All the Way to the River is a storyteller who doesn't just write for the sake of words. He writes to reveal the quiet truths hidden in human life. Known for capturing the tension between morality and survival, his voice carries the weight of honesty. In a time when many stories chase trends, his writing slows you down. It asks you to sit, reflect, and confront what lies beneath the surface. His place in today's literary space matters because he bridges the gap between simple storytelling and deep reflection. His books are not written to be consumed quickly. They are written to be lived through. That's why his voice stands apart. It resonates with readers who crave depth and meaning in an age of distractions. The first impression of this book starts with the title itself, All the Way to the River. At first glance, it seems simple, almost ordinary. But that simplicity carries weight. The phrase suggests a destination, a path, and an endpoint that must be reached. It stirs curiosity. What lies at the river? What happens when someone arrives there? Titles like this hold power because they open doors in the reader's imagination before the story even begins. You can't help but wonder what the journey will cost the characters and what truths will be revealed along the way. The river, of course, is more than just a physical space in the story. It stands as a universal symbol, and that's where its real power lies. Rivers have always carried meaning in human culture. They represent flow, passage, and time itself. A river moves without pause, just like life. You can step into the same river, but the water will never be the same again. In this book, that symbol becomes a force. It speaks of change that cannot be avoided. It whispers of transformation, of moving from one stage of life to another. The journey all the way to the river becomes more than geography. It becomes destiny. The way the author uses this symbol is subtle but sharp. He doesn't shout its meaning at the reader. Instead, he lets the river exist quietly, waiting in the background while the characters move toward it. The anticipation builds not because of what is described, but because of what is suggested. That's the mark of a skilled writer. He understands that the most powerful messages are not spoken directly. They are felt often in silence. Readers today are drawn to stories that go beyond entertainment. They want books that challenge them, books that hold a mirror to their lives. The author delivers exactly that. His writing speaks to the questions people carry but rarely put into words. What defines us? What price do we pay for our choices? Can we escape the current of life, or must we surrender to it? In this way, the river becomes both a destination and a metaphor for the struggles within us all. The title captures this essence in just a few words. It's not grand or complicated. It doesn't need to be. Its strength lies in its simplicity. All the Way to the River promises a story that is grounded yet profound. It gives the reader a sense of direction, but not the full map. That mystery is enough to spark intrigue and pull you in. When you combine a writer with a voice that cuts through the noise of modern literature with a symbol as timeless as the river, you get a story that refuses to fade. That's why this book matters. That's why its arrival as a book club pick is worth attention. It's more than a novel. It's an exploration, a reminder that life itself is a river, and we're all moving, whether we realize it or not. The story's heart beats with quiet intensity. At its center, it is about people confronted with decisions that shape the course of their lives. These decisions are not dramatic in the usual sense. They are not about saving the world or conquering kingdoms. Instead, they are personal, intimate, and deeply human. That is where the real weight lies. The characters move through situations that test their sense of self, force them to confront hidden truths, and push them toward places they never thought they would reach. Without giving away the plot, it's clear that the story isn't about reaching the river alone. It's about everything that happens within the people making that journey. Identity sits at the core of the narrative. Who are we when we are tested? Who do we become when life forces us to make uncomfortable choices? The characters grapple with these questions in ways that feel raw and relatable. Their struggles may be wrapped in fiction, but they reflect the same battles we face every day. The author makes it clear that identity is not something fixed. It shifts with experience, with regret, and with the courage to keep moving forward. That is why the story feels alive. It isn't about perfection. It's about the messy, complicated process of being human. Alongside identity, the book shines a light on choices. Every action in the story carries consequence, no matter how small. A simple decision can echo across time, just like a stone tossed into water creates ripples. This idea threads through the narrative, reminding the reader that no choice is isolated. Life is a chain reaction, and once you start it, there is no stopping what comes next. In this way, the book pushes us to think about our own choices, not in a moralizing way, but in a reflective one. It asks, what rivers are we walking toward in our lives? And what price will we pay to get there? The boundaries the characters face are not just external. They are internal. Fear, guilt, shame, and doubt become invisible walls that must be crossed. These inner boundaries feel just as real as physical ones, and sometimes even more difficult to overcome. That's what makes the story resonate. It is less about what happens outside and more about what happens inside. Readers can see themselves in those moments, recognizing the times they too have had to face a silent, private crossing. The themes of the book weave together seamlessly. Morality is one of the most striking. The characters often find themselves standing at the edge of right and wrong, unsure of which direction will save them and which will destroy them. But the brilliance of the author's approach is that morality is not painted in black and white. It's blurred, messy, and unsettling. The reader is left questioning not just the choices of the characters, but their own definitions of good and bad. Relationships also hold a central place in the narrative. Connections between people are portrayed not as perfect bonds, but as fragile, complex, and often strained by circumstance. Love, loyalty, and betrayal all appear not in exaggerated drama, but in subtle, powerful ways. The way people collide, separate, and reconnect feels real. It mirrors the complications of our own lives, where relationships are both a source of strength and a source of pain. Survival runs underneath it all like an undercurrent. Not survival in the sense of merely staying alive, but survival of dignity, survival of hope, survival of identity in a world that constantly challenges it. This thread ties the story to the universal human condition. Everyone in one way or another is fighting to hold on to something that defines them. These themes connect to modern readers because they never go out of relevance. We live in a world where choices are endless, but so are the consequences. We face moral dilemmas every day, whether in our careers, our families, or our personal beliefs. We navigate relationships that shape us, break us, or rebuild us. And at the heart of it all, we are constantly trying to survive, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. That's why this book strikes a chord. It doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, it offers reflection, urging us to pause and look within. The story's heart is human, fragile, and strong all at once. Its themes flow together like a river, moving quietly but carrying immense force beneath the surface. The book does not shout its message, it lets the reader feel it, layer by layer, until it lingers long after the final page. The characters in All the Way to the River feel startlingly real. They are not heroes dressed in perfection, nor villains painted in pure darkness. They exist somewhere in between, carrying both light and shadow within them. That is what makes them so compelling. Each one is drawn with details that echo our own lives, hesitations, missteps, unspoken fears. Their struggles are not exaggerated for drama. They are crafted with a kind of honesty that mirrors what it means to be human. As you read, you don't see them as distant figures on a page. You recognize them. In fact, you may even see parts of yourself reflected back. The flaws of the characters make them memorable. Some wrestle with guilt, unable to undo choices from the past. Others stumble under the weight of temptation or pride. These flaws are not weaknesses inserted to fill a role. They are the very forces that drive the narrative forward. They reveal how fragile and unpredictable human nature can be. And yet, even in their lowest moments, the characters are never stripped of dignity. Their imperfections remind us that people are not defined by their mistakes alone. They are defined by the courage or lack of it to confront those mistakes. Moments of clarity strike like lightning across the pages. A character may wander in doubt for chapters, weighed down by indecision, and then suddenly arrive at a realization that changes everything. These moments are powerful not because they solve every problem, but because they reveal an inner shift. A shift in perspective, in resolve, in identity. The author handles these transitions with subtlety, letting the clarity emerge naturally rather than forcing it. That restraint makes the insight feel earned, not given. As readers, we feel the transformation alongside the characters, and that shared experience makes the story resonate deeply. The river itself becomes a character, though it never speaks a word. It runs through the story as a symbol carrying meaning beyond its surface. At first, it appears as just a place, a destination, a backdrop. But as the story unfolds, its symbolism grows stronger. The river represents transformation. It is the space where the old self dissolves and the new self begins to form. Just as water shapes the land it touches, the river shapes the lives of those who encounter it. Every step toward it feels like a step toward change, whether welcomed or resisted. The river is also a meeting ground of past and future. It holds the weight of memory, carrying echoes of what has already happened. At the same time, it rushes forward, refusing to stop, demanding that the characters step into what lies ahead. That duality makes it haunting. Standing by the river is like standing between two worlds, the world you are leaving behind and the one you are not yet ready to enter. This is why the river lingers in the reader's mind long after the book is closed. It is not water alone. It is time, choice, and destiny converging in one place. What makes the symbolism even more powerful is its quiet presence. The author does not spell it out. He allows the river to exist, to flow naturally through the narrative. Its meaning is felt rather than explained. That choice mirrors the way rivers exist in real life. We stand by them and sense their depth without needing words. The book captures that same silent force, letting the river become a mirror for the character's struggles and a mirror for the reader's own reflections. The interplay between character depth and the symbolism of the river gives the story its gravity. The characters are pushed, pulled, and reshaped not just by their interactions with each other, but by their encounters with the river itself. Their flaws, their realizations, their identities, all are tested in its presence. And through them, we are reminded that transformation is not an easy journey. It is often painful, uncertain, and filled with risk. Yet, like the river, it is inevitable. We cannot stay still forever. We must move, we must change, and we must face the waters that await us. The style of writing in All the Way to the River is deceptively simple. The words are not weighed down with heavy ornamentation or unnecessary complexity. Instead, they are sharp, direct, and precise. Every sentence feels like it has been carved carefully, leaving only what matters. That simplicity is what makes the story so powerful. It allows the emotions to rise naturally without being buried under too much detail. You are not distracted by the language. You are immersed in the experience it creates. The sharpness of the prose cuts straight to the heart, leaving impressions that linger long after a chapter is finished. The emotional weight of the writing cannot be overlooked. Each line carries a quiet intensity. Even when the action slows, the words hum with a kind of pressure that keeps you turning the page. The author writes not just to describe events, but to make you feel them. You feel the hesitation of a character standing on the edge of choice. You feel the heaviness of silence in moments when words cannot be spoken. This ability to pull readers into the emotional core of the story is what separates ordinary writing from writing that truly moves people. It transforms reading from a passive activity into an intimate encounter. What makes the writing even more gripping is the rhythm. The prose flows like the river it describes, sometimes calm, sometimes fast, sometimes breaking into sudden intensity. This rhythm mirrors the character's journey, drawing you into their struggles without you even realizing it. Before long, you are not just reading their path, you are walking it. You feel the pressure of their decisions as though they were your own. That sense of immersion is rare, and it is part of why this book resonates so strongly. The choice to keep the style clear and emotional also makes the story accessible. It does not demand that the reader decode complicated passages or navigate through layers of abstraction. Instead, it opens itself, inviting everyone in. And yet, the simplicity does not strip the story of depth. In fact, it enhances it. Because the words are uncluttered, the themes have room to breathe. You can feel the weight of morality, identity, and transformation without needing them spelled out. The story respects the intelligence of the reader, trusting that you will uncover meaning in the spaces between the lines. This is part of why the book makes such a strong book club pick. It is not a story you close and forget. It's a story that demands to be discussed. The sharp, emotional style means readers connect with it on different levels. Some will focus on the symbolism of the river. Others will be struck by the moral dilemmas. Others will find themselves drawn to the relationships and the way choices ripple through them. Everyone leaves the book with a slightly different perspective, and that diversity of response is what sparks conversation. The story also raises questions that do not have easy answers. Is survival worth compromising one's values? Can we ever truly escape the consequences of our choices? Do we define our identity, or does it define us? These questions are not neatly tied up by the final chapter. Instead, they are left open, hanging in the mind like unfinished echoes. That openness is intentional. It pushes the reader to wrestle with them personally, and it pushes groups of readers to debate them collectively. A book that closes every door leaves no room for dialogue. This book leaves doors wide open, and that's where its strength lies. In a world where stories often aim to entertain and then fade away, this one dares to stay. It lingers. It insists on being revisited. And the style of writing makes that possible. By being sharp and emotional, it ensures that the story doesn't just pass through the reader, it stays within them. By raising questions without easy solutions, it ensures that readers return to it again and again in discussion, in thought, and in reflection. This combination makes All the Way to the River not just a book worth reading, but a book worth sharing, dissecting, and revisiting together. The lessons for readers flow gently through the story, never forced, never shouted, yet impossible to ignore. One of the clearest lessons is about courage in the face of choices. Life often places us at crossroads, and the book reflects this reality with striking honesty. The characters face decisions that weigh heavy on them, decisions that could alter everything they know. Some move forward with hesitation, others with determination, and a few with fear that nearly paralyzes them. But through them all, the story shows that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the act of moving despite it. This is a reminder that every reader can take into their own life. Courage is not about grand gestures. It is about small steps taken when the outcome is uncertain. The book also speaks to the balance between human weakness and human strength. The characters are flawed. They stumble, they doubt, and they sometimes make choices that hurt themselves or others. Yet within those flaws lies their humanity. Weakness is not portrayed as failure. It is portrayed as a part of living. Strength is not about being unbreakable. It is about getting back up when you are broken. Readers can see themselves in these portrayals, realizing that their own weaknesses do not erase their worth and that strength often appears in quiet, unexpected forms. It is in forgiveness and endurance, in the willingness to keep going even when the current is against you. The emotional impact of the story is undeniable. From the first chapters, tension builds like a thread that never lets go. You feel it in the silence between characters, in the weight of choices not yet made, and in the presence of the river waiting ahead. That tension is not overwhelming, but it is constant. It keeps the reader engaged, leaning forward, always wondering what will come next. Alongside tension, the book awakens empathy. The characters are not always likable, yet they are always understandable. Their struggles are painted with such honesty that you cannot help but feel for them. You may not agree with their decisions, but you recognize why they make them. This empathy extends beyond the book itself, pushing the reader to see others in the real world with more compassion. If fictional characters can remind us that people are complicated, real people deserve the same understanding. Reflection becomes the final layer of the emotional experience. Once the book is closed, it refuses to leave the reader. The questions linger. Could I have made a different choice in their place? What boundaries in my own life am I afraid to cross? Where is my river waiting for me? These reflections rise slowly, sometimes days later, reminding the reader that the story has left a mark. It is not a fleeting experience. It is one that sits quietly in the mind and heart, asking to be revisited. This lasting impact is what separates the book from others. Many stories entertain, some even inspire, but few stay with you long enough to alter the way you see yourself in the world. All the Way to the River belongs to that rare group. It teaches without preaching, it moves without manipulation, and it leaves the reader changed in ways that cannot be fully explained. It is a reminder that literature has the power not just to tell stories, but to shape lives. The lessons and emotional weight combine to create an experience that feels deeply personal. Readers walk away not only having traveled with the characters, but also having traveled within themselves. Courage, weakness, strength, tension, empathy, reflection, all flow together like the currents of a river, carrying the reader to places they did not expect to reach. And long after the final pages turn, the echo of that journey remains. The connection to today's world is impossible to miss. The themes running through all the way to the river mirror the struggles we face daily, both individually and as a society. Choices are at the heart of the story, and choices are at the heart of our lives now more than ever. People stand at crossroads every day asked to decide between convenience and integrity, comfort and growth, silence and truth. Just like the characters, we are often uncertain, knowing that whichever way we turn will have consequences that extend far beyond ourselves. The story holds up a mirror showing that the weight of decisions is timeless, yet especially sharp in the world we live in today. Morality, one of the strongest themes of the book, feels deeply relevant in an age where lines between right and wrong are constantly blurred. We see it in politics, in workplaces, even in personal relationships. People justify questionable choices for survival, for success, for acceptance. The book does not give neat answers to moral dilemmas, and neither does life. That's why it resonates. It forces us to reflect on our own compromises, asking where we draw the line and how much we are willing to sacrifice to live with ourselves. Relationships in the book also reflect modern realities. Human connections today are strained by distance, by mistrust, by competing priorities. The story shows us how fragile relationships can be, yet also how vital they are. Bonds between people carry us forward, even when fractured. They test our patience, break our expectations, and sometimes they save us. This mirrors the complexity of relationships in our own world, where love and conflict often exist side by side. Survival, too, is not just a theme of fiction. It is a reality of our time. Survival in the modern sense often extends beyond physical needs. It is about holding on to dignity in systems that can strip it away. It is about preserving mental and emotional health in a world that rarely slows down. It is about maintaining identity in a culture that constantly pressures people to change. The story reflects this struggle, making it clear that survival is not just about living, it is about living with meaning. That is why the book feels so relevant now. It does not speak to a distant or imaginary world, it speaks to ours. The river becomes a symbol not only for the characters but for us. It represents the uncertain future we all walk toward. It represents the transformation we resist, yet cannot avoid. And it represents the meeting point of what we leave behind and what we are yet to face. In a time of global change, personal reinvention, and constant challenge, that image could not be more fitting. The universal takeaway is simple yet profound. Beyond the story itself, the message is about life. Keep moving. The river never stops, and neither does life. Stagnation is an illusion. We are always in motion, whether we realize it or not. Stay strong. The journey is not smooth, and the weight of decisions can feel unbearable, but strength is built in persistence. Trust your path. The characters in the book cannot always see what lies ahead, and neither can we. But trust is what allows us to step forward, even when the road is hidden. These lessons are not bound to the pages of a novel. They apply to anyone, anywhere, at any time. They remind us that life is both fragile and resilient, both uncertain and purposeful. The river flows, carrying past and future together, and we too must flow with it. The story becomes a guide urging us to embrace change, to face choices with courage, and to live with an awareness that every step shapes who we are becoming. Beyond the fiction lies truth, and beyond the characters lies us. This book matters because it is more than a story. It is a reflection of life itself, of choices, courage, identity, and the silent current that carries us forward, whether we are ready or not. All the way to the river invites us to pause, to think and to see ourselves within its pages. That is why it was chosen as our book club pick, and that is why it deserves your attention. Now it's your turn. Join the discussion, share your thoughts, and let's explore the lessons this story holds together. Every reader will see something different in its journey, and your perspective is part of what makes this book club meaningful. If you found value in this video, make sure to like it, subscribe to our channel, and stay connected for more inspiring conversations. The river may flow endlessly, but so do the ideas we can uncover when we read together.